Perfect. Perfect.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
What's up, you guys? It's Katie and welcome back to my channel. For those that are new, hi, hey, welcome. For those who have been here, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today we are going to be doing yet again another bi-monthly reading wrap-up. This is going to be my reading wrap-up for both May and June of 2025. Before we get into anything, babe, we need to acknowledge what the fuck. I don't know where the hell this bitch went. 1 second, I was clickety-clacking away on my laptop, and the next second, this bitch was gone. I literally have no idea where it went. The bitch vanished without a trace, alright? Abracadabra, poof, gone. Harry Houdini'd my ass. I don't know. I was crawling around on my hands and knees trying to find this bitch so I could just glue it on and be ratchet like that, but I couldn't find it. I could not find it. So, but yeah, anyways, just ignore it, okay? I can't really do anything about it right now. Hopefully that nail shows up because I don't want my dog eating it. But anyways, whatever. Just had to acknowledge that because I know. Just please ignore it. I'll try and not use my hands so much because I have a tendency to do that, but it's gonna be hard for me, okay? The bitch likes to talk with their hands, you know? Mr. Krabs and shit, whatever. Anyways, we don't need to make this intro longer than it has to be. I have a tendency to over-yap, so we're just gonna try and not do that today. I say that in every single video, but I swear. Today, we're gonna try and keep it to the point, alright? So let's get into the reading stats. Okay, so over the course of the past 2 months, I have read 11.5 books total. I'm currently in the middle of one book, which we'll get into later on in the video, but as of the end of June, I've read 3.5 romances, 3 fantasies, 2 literary fictions, 2 mysteries and thrillers, and 1 sci-fi. And then out of those 11.5 books, 5.5 of those were physical copies, and 6 of those were actually audiobooks. It has been a huge audiobook couple of months. I recently downloaded Libby, and I have just had all of my holds explode on me at once. If you have Libby, you know that like you're kind of SOL if you don't read them immediately when they become available to you. And that being said, the average rating throughout the past 2 months was a 3.93. This score does not include the book that I'm currently in the middle of. The total number of pages that I read was actually 4,716 pages, and this does include half of the book that I'm currently in the middle of because I read those pages throughout the past 2 months. You feel me? So, okay, now that we have the reading stats out of the way, we're gonna get into the actual book. So starting off, we have A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book of ACOWAR, for those who are unaware. I'm sure you guys know the synopsis of this series, but for those who don't, this is about a huntress who explores the fairy realm and meets fae and literally just goes on an entire journey. It's hard to even put into words what the main point of this book is. I feel like I'm the last person on the planet to read this series, so just know that the first book at least is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. That's all that I'm gonna say about the book, but I went into this thinking that it was going to be potentially a 5-star because I've heard that this is the best book in the series according to a lot of people. So I kind of had that mindset going into it, and therefore I was a little bit let down. I don't understand the hype with this one, if I'm gonna be completely honest. To put it bluntly, I read up to like page 450 and then shit started to happen. And then I started to maybe understand the hype, but I still kind of just didn't give a shit about what was going on in the book. The way that Sarah J. Maas was writing in this, it was so inconsistent. The plot line, everything that was going on, I feel like I was just getting manipulated and gaslighted the entire time because there would be some high fantasy shit that was going on where you're like binging the book for like maybe 20 pages and then it just stops and then it's just boring. And there were a lot of chapters that I feel like we didn't need in this, and it also just felt very scattered and none of it made sense to me as to why things were going on. I've continued the series and I still feel that way, so it's not just me not knowing what's going on in the book. It's genuinely like this book just felt very random, and there were some parts that are engraved in my memory because there were a couple of like creepy, scary parts that like I will never forget. Also, I will say chapter 42 50 Shades who? 50 Shades what? Yeah, that was good. All right, we loved that part. That was out of the blue, like literally out of left field, but I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like, give it to me. So chapter 42 was really good, and I honestly feel like that's when the hype began to start for me, where I was like, okay, maybe it's good. I don't know. I just felt like I was going in and out of like liking it and not liking it. And then chapter 54 came, and I was like, you just dropped a bomb on us. That was crazy. And Farrah's response was just, it was funny as shit. I'm like, this dude, literally Hailey Bieber stalked her ass and she didn't give a f. She literally was like, cool, moving on. I want to say she's a queen, but at that point in time when I read that chapter, I was like, girl, like, I don't know, whatever. I just realized that I've been holding this with my busted finger and it's probably gonna annoy the hell out of me when I'm editing, but whatever. This book was predictable in a way where I knew that the main character was going to have an obstacle and they were going to get out of that situation regardless. It was more of like, oh, how are you going to do it now? You know, it was like, how are you gonna get out of this one? Like, we know that you're going to, but how are you gonna do it now? And it was kind of annoying because I'm just like, I just wish there was more mystery to it. Anyways, I ended up rating this a 3.5 star. I honestly don't understand why people are rating this a 5 star. I wanted to like it so bad, but I just didn't. The fact that I had to read the entire first book and then read a majority of the second book to then potentially understand the hype, that's a lot of pages to just be like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of time spent. And yeah, that's all that I'm gonna say about this. Just know that there is going to be a full spoiler book review of the entire series posted on my channel at some point in time once I finish the series. So for now, that's what I'm going to leave you with, but just know that I rated this a 3.5 star. Moving on. Okay, and then I read Perfume and Pain by Anna Dorn. This actually was my very first book club pick. Yay! For those who don't know, I did start a book club back in May, and this was the first book that we read back in May, and I loved this. This is a very niche pick. This book follows our main character Astrid as she's trying to navigate the mindset of addiction and trying to navigate the world and her dating life while she's also battling an addiction. This is not going to be a book for everybody. I am just gonna say that now. I loved the shit out of this book. I literally felt like Anna Dorn had stolen my journal from years ago and just published it without my knowledge, and this is what the result was because it was way too relatable to me. It definitely captures the reality of what it's like to have an addictive personality. I'm not even kidding. My entire photo library was just a ton of screenshots from this book, like damn near every page. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm being serious. I'll post a picture for you guys to see what I'm talking about. But there were such niche things that I'm like, how'd you know? Like, I'm gonna share a couple of quotes with you guys because there were so many that I genuinely have to. They were so niche and so direct that I'm like, felt like I was getting called out. And also, this book was hilarious. I was literally laughing my ass off, but yeah. For instance, one of the quotes that stuck out to me like a sore thumb was, "In bed, I put on a playlist entitled Frequencies for Healing and Positive Transformation, and I opened my alt Twitter and searched Devin, who is blocked on my main account. I'm not supposed to look at her social media for mental reasons, but sometimes I get an itch I simply must scratch, like when I can't help but watch consecutive YouTube videos of Cara Delevingne tweaking on late night shows. She always fancied herself a young Courtney Love, although I saw her more as bald Britney Spears attacking a paparazzo with an umbrella." Like, I think that that's funny as f, and it was relatable because I've totally done that before. And then another quote that, this one's really long, so bear with me. It's so just, the people who get it will get it, but the people who don't, I don't know how to explain it to you, but this is real as f. Okay, it says, "I remember my phone in my kitchen and excitement surges through me. I charge across the lawn feeling like a forest fawn, playful and in my element, prancing on the grass on a summer night. I go to my room to get the Marlboros first, saving the phone for last, a little treat. But back in the kitchen, I'm devastated to see no notifications. My stomach sinks. I feel like collapsing. The world is turning on me. I'm no longer a forest fawn, but rather a sea urchin, clawing onto the depths of the ocean floor, dark and icky and about to get eaten by a shark. Then I remember the other half of my Adderall in my pillbox in my room. I was supposed to save it, but this is an unusual night. I must charm Penelope. I might talk to Ivy later. I have to entertain my brother and be on my game. I must be a deer again, not a sea urchin. My ID takes me into the room where I break off another quarter, smaller than a quarter, and crunch it in my teeth. I do some quick math. The entire pill was 30 milligrams. I've had roughly 70% of it, maybe 65%. According to my iPhone, 65% of 30 is 19.5 milligrams. That's fine. My limit is 20 milligrams and I'm well within it. I check my messages again and see nada. Ivy's probably working on her dissertation. All is good. I return to Penelope's side of the yard, prancing like a forest fawn under the darkening sky, then dole out the cigarettes like Oprah giving out free cars. Just the analogy of feeling like a forest fawn to then feeling like a dark sea urchin within seconds is so just... That was such a good analogy. Like, this book is funny as hell, it's relatable as I will say it's very scrappy, it's written very messy, and there's also, like, weird parts. There's also weird parts. There was, like, a point when she was talking about, there was a couple points, actually, where she was talking about children being attractive, which, what the fuck? And then there was another part where this bitch was sniffing underwear, which was also weird, and then, and also just to acknowledge it, this is a queer book. I don't know the rules personally. This slang would never come out of my mouth, but she does use slang that would be considered homophobic if used by someone who's not in the LGBTQ plus community. So yeah, again, I don't know the rules, but just know that that's in there in case you guys don't vibe with that, because I felt weird reading it and I immediately put it down and then I looked up Anna Dorn because I was just like checking the facts, you know. I'm like, this literally came out what, in like 2024 or 2023 or something like that. This book came out last year and I was like, hang on, we're still using those words? Like, I thought we learned years ago that that does not fly, you know, like don't be using that slang, okay? And then I saw that she was a part of the community, so again, I don't know the rules, but just know that that's in there. And yeah, overall I rated this a 4.5 star. It's not gonna be for everyone. I think it takes a very specific individual to relate to this or to find this funny, and I happen to be one of those people. So this book is very much if Marilyn Monroe and Lana Del Rey had a child, this is the outcome of that relationship. So just, if that interests you, if me saying that interests you, then you're probably gonna like this book. If it does not interest you by me saying that, then you're probably not gonna like this book. But yeah, it's very scrappy. It literally feels almost like a very first book that someone published, even though she's written other books. But I kind of liked it because it was like so scrappy in a way where it was just... It literally just felt like my diary. Okay, whatever. Moving on. Okay, the next book I actually do not have a physical copy of. I read this via audiobook, so that's why I don't have the physical copy, but it is Ward D by Frida McFadden. This is a mystery thriller, obviously. Y'all know that I like Frida McFadden. This is about a med student who is in the middle of her clinicals and she is assigned the psychiatric unit at a hospital. And while she's in there, people start going missing, and yeah. I really enjoyed this one. This very much reminded me of The Inmate by Frida McFadden. If you guys have read The Inmate, you're probably gonna enjoy this one as well. I figured that I was gonna like this before I even went into it, just because it is relatable to the medical field in a way, and shocker, I loved it. So I ended up rating this a 4.5 star. I will say the epilogue was kind of underwhelming. Like, normally her epilogues are like my favorite part of all of her books, but lately they've been falling flat for me. I don't know why, but yeah, this one fell flat as well. I will say though that the entire book was fun regardless, and I was eating it up. I literally laughed out loud and audibly gasped because of the shock value of some of this shit. So I definitely recommend if you have not read it before, but yeah, ended up rating it a 4.5 star. So moving on. Next up, I have One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This is her new release from the beginning of May, and this, for those who don't know, is the spinoff of her very first book, which is called Every Summer After. And I had high hopes for this. I feel like whenever you think of a sequel, it never ends up living up to the hype of the first book. And that's kind of how this was, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I didn't have that much of expectations for it just because I had a feeling it was gonna not hit the same way. That being said, I still enjoyed it. I love Carly Fortune's writing. I think she's very great at literally setting the scene and like the aroma and atmosphere that she builds and the scenery that she paints of sitting at a lake is just so good, and it's so spot on that it's amazing, and I love it. This book is following our female main character Alice and her relationship with our main male character, whose name is Charlie. Alice is a photographer and Charlie is the brother of one of the main characters in Every Summer After, which is what this book is a spin-off of. The entire plot of this book is so cute. I think they're both in their 30s and they miss feeling like a kid and having like a teenage summer, so they make a bucket list, and it's just so cute. It's so cute. It's so fun. I loved it. I will say the ending, the last like 200 pages, it really felt like she had a deadline to meet by publishing this book, so she just threw random ass shit in there and then called it good because it was so just spun out of left field and a little cliche in a way, and it was kind of like, what the f. Like, it just felt like a dingy little book at that point. And I noticed while I was reading it that there were a couple of grammar issues, which is just crazy that that passed through however many people checked this book before it was published, but there were grammar issues, at least in the book that I have. So I hate when there's grammar issues in books. It automatically will like dock a couple of points because I'm like, how did you not catch that? How did you not catch that in the editing process? You know what I mean? Or before you published the book? I don't know. Obviously that was in the back of my mind. I couldn't ignore it. That's just how I am as a reader. Overall, it was a fun read. I'm not trying to dock the book at all. I'm just saying that like the ending could have used a little more thought and a little more attention before they published the book. Also the little grammar issues, but other than that, I rated this 4.5 star. I liked it. I would recommend it. I would recommend all of Carly Fortune's books because she's just really good at what she does. Yeah, I love her books, so I would recommend this one. But yeah. Okay, the next book I actually don't own because, again, I read this one on audiobook as well. It is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Miss Mariana Zapata. I have been wanting to read this book for so long, and I'm glad that I finally did. I wish that I could have read the physical copy, but it is what it is. The audiobook was still really good. This follows our main characters, Vanessa and Aiden. Aiden is a professional football player, and Vanessa is his personal assistant, and they grow a relationship. Honestly, I feel like I was expecting more from this book. It definitely, Mariana Zapata, for those who have never read her books before, she is the queen of slow burn and also the queen of grumpy sunshine, okay? This is definitely both of those tropes. I will say that I did enjoy Colty a little bit more than this one, just because, honestly, I don't know why. Maybe just because it was about soccer, but The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, regardless, it was a really good book. I really did enjoy it. There are trigger warnings for this, which I did not know before I went into the book, so just know that. I also love how Mariana Zapata incorporates Spanish into her books. Mariana Zapata is Latina, so she does a really great job in incorporating that. And it's fun for me to test my memory because I grew up learning Spanish. I took Spanish in college and everything too, so I always loved language classes.
México DF, México, Guatemala, Guatemala, Tegucigalpa, Honduras, San Salvador, El Salvador, Managua, Nicaragua, San Jose, Costa Rica, Panamá, Panamá, La Habana, Cuba, Santo Domingo, República Dominicana, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
And it's really fun, and I really like that she does that. And also I will say that normally when a man is so overbearing and overprotective and jealous and insecure, I automatically get the ick and I'm like, you insecure motherfucking rat, like get out of here. She's an independent queen, she doesn't need you, like back the up. Why are you trying to control her? You know what I mean? However, the way that Mariana Zapata writes those characters, she does it in a way where I'm like, okay, like, yes, please protect me. Please tell me what to do. I'm bowing, my lord. Like, I will do whatever you say. Thank you very much. And yeah, I don't know. She does a really good job at doing that and not making it cringy or infuriating for me as a reader to read about. I will say that Aiden, though, like, there were some points where he came off extremely narcissistic and it wasn't very cute. Like, he was starting to do shit that wasn't so cute anymore, you know? At first, I was like, okay, yes, and then it turned into like, okay, no. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, I still really enjoyed this. I ended up rating this a solid 4-star. I do prefer Colty over The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, but that being said, it was still a great book. I would definitely recommend, especially if you like slow burn romances or if you like sports romances. I still want to read all of Mariana Zapata's backlist, so I'm glad that I got that one under wraps and now I can move on to her other books. I think my next one might be All Roads Lead to Here. I don't know, I've also heard really good things about For Luke-Off with Love or something like that. We'll see what I end up choosing, but nonetheless, I would recommend this. Moving on. Woo! Are you ready for it? Okay. Next up, I never thought I'd see the f***ing day again, babe, but the next book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Miss Marisay Joss. What? The next book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin by Miss Sarah J. Maas, which is the third book of ACOWAR. Baby. Why did no one give me the heads up of the emotional turmoil that I was going to feel reading this book? I knew within the first 50 pages that I was getting emotionally attached and I was starting to understand the hype. This book totally made me understand the hype of ACOWAR. I'm just gonna say that now. I loved this so much. I was so invested. My jaw was on the floor multiple fucking times. There was plot twist after plot twist after plot twist. I was always intrigued. I always wanted to keep reading. I loved this book. And I've already explained ACOTAR to you guys, so I'm not going to go over the series again. However, I don't think that I mentioned the main character's name, for those who don't know. Her name is Feyre. My battery's dying. Of course it is. Of course it is. 1 second. Okay, sorry, my battery died, as it normally does. But this book, you guys, I loved this with my entire soul. I was screaming, crying, throwing up, punching the wall. I was feeling every which way of emotion that you could possibly feel on this earth. Like, yeah, for sure. The way that she made every point in this book relevant was something that I had not seen her do in her other books. Like, for instance, as I said before, the second book just felt random as f. The first book was just, it's just the first book. Like, this one, every single piece of information was relevant to the story. I think my favorite part of the entire series is watching the main characters communicate through the bond. I don't know why, but I just love that part for some reason anytime it's brought up. And yeah, it was so well written, and I also feel like I enjoyed this a lot because it really was a closed door romance instead of her usual spice that she likes to incorporate and sprinkle into the entire series. So I think that that's why I probably enjoyed this more, because I'm not much of a spicy girl, as you guys know. But dude, it was just such a journey. Like, it was such a journey. I wish with my entire soul that I could reread this book for the first time again, dude. Like, as you guys probably have guessed by now, I rated this bitch a 5-star. Yeah. I don't know why people aren't talking about this book more than they're talking about the second book, because, bro, there is no way that someone could rank this lower than a 5-star. There is no way that someone can come up to me and tell me that this bitch is not a 5-star. What are you saying? This was just a mastermind, whole other experience, dude. Like, wow. I definitely understood the hype of ACOTAR after I finished reading this, and I, again, wish that I could read this for the very first time because I loved it. I loved every second of it. And I will say that I really liked the way that she went about talking about politics as well in this book. Like, normally when a book is heavy politics, it really bothers me and I just get annoyed of it because I'm like, okay, you can say your piece, but then like once you start shoving it down the reader's throat, that's when I get annoyed. She did it in such a mature way that it didn't bother me, and I was like, wait, though, you spitting facts for real, like I don't know. Anyways, I loved this. Again, there's gonna be a full discussion in a future video of this entire series, so that's what I'm gonna leave you with, but I did rate this masterpiece a 5-star. So that is my second 5-star read of 2025, babes. And I called that with my last reading wrap-up. I was like, if I don't get another 5-star. My last reading wrap-up was brutal, and I was like, I swear to God, if I don't get another 5-star soon, this baby did it. This baby did it. We're back in business, sister. Like, oh my God. Anyways, really enjoyed this one. Again, we'll get into the nitty-gritty in a future video, but for now, we liked her, okay? Okay, the next book that I also read via audiobook, so I do not have the physical copy. It is Death Valley by Melissa Broder. This was actually my book club's June pick, and bruh, this book is weird as hell. I'm gonna be so honest. This is a literary fiction and it's a very abstract book. I knew that it was a weird book before I went into it because that's what I've just heard about it. For those who don't know, this is about a woman who is navigating the stages of grief, and she happens to take a trip to the desert to clear her mind, and she comes across a mystical cactus in buttfuck of nowhere. She starts to hallucinate and trip, and there's a lot of metaphorical references in here, which I enjoyed, but yeah, that's basically the sum of the entire book. I think it really captivates the stages of grief very well, and I also think that it does a great job at having the reader really think about the stages of life that you're brought into and how to make the most of those obstacles. It definitely makes you think about life in a very different way, and for that I applaud the book, but I will say halfway through I started to lose interest. Honestly, I'm glad that I read this via audiobook because I don't think that I would have finished it physically. It is a short book, so I probably would have finished it, but yeah, I don't know, I just kind of lost the point of the entire book, and also it just got really weird. The beginning of this book was funny as I was literally just cracking the up, bro. This bitch was hilarious, okay? And I was like, great. Another one of these witty ass funny ass books, right? We love that. I was having a phenomenal time, and then it started to get annoying the way that the author was trying to crack jokes, because she was starting to make jokes about like farting, pooping, peeing, dicks. Like, she was just having such immature humor that I'm like, baby, are we in middle school? Like, yeah, it just got annoying, and it was really immature at some points where I was like, okay, like you were funny as f in the beginning. She was completely roasting the shit out of Best Western, which I thought was hilarious, because I grew up going to Best Westerns and staying at Best Westerns whenever I would go on vacation or whatever with my family for the most part. And so I thought that that shit was just funny. She was just laying it out, and it was hilarious, and I totally understood that humor. But then when she started making those jokes about farting, pooping, peeing, I'm like, bro, honestly, it made me want to DNF the book a lot of times, but overall, I just feel very indifferent about it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anyone, if I'm going to be completely honest. It was pretty much just a wash for me. I ended up rating it a 3-star. If you're going to pick it up, just know that it is a very strange, weird, wacky book, okay? And I love strange, weird, and wacky, alright? But this was a little bit too strange, weird, and wacky. You feel me? Anyways, moving on. Dude, how long have I not been sitting in the middle of my viewfinder? My bad, sorry. The next book was yet again another ACOTAR book. It is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the book that comes in between the third and fourth book, for those who don't know. Honestly, there's not much for me to say about this book. It was exactly what I thought that it was going to be, and I enjoyed it. It was fun getting to see different characters' point of view. It also made me really excited for the winter time, which I don't even like winter that much, babe. Like, I just don't. It's not one of my favorite seasons at all. I like winter until I get sick of it, you feel me? So anyways, yeah, this was very much short and sweet, to the point. I think this was supposed to be a cushion between A Court of Wings and Ruin, the third book, and then the fourth book, obviously A Court of Silver Flames, just because so much happened in the third book that you need to get your mentality straightened out again before you dive balls deep into the fourth book. I haven't read the fourth book. This is actually the last ACOTAR book that I'm going to show you guys today, because I figured that for this reading wrap-up, you guys wouldn't want simply just me talking about ACOTAR the entire time, so I decided to hold off on reading the fourth book. I'm going to pick it up shortly, but I wanted to incorporate other books for you guys so that I wasn't talking about this series entirely, because I am, again, planning to do it in a whole other video. But yeah, this one was just very much short, sweet, and a cushion, and a novella, so it's exactly what you probably think that it is. And yeah, I also will say, I love books that have art in it, like whether it's characters who make art or sell art or work in an art gallery or something related to like painting or whatever. I love that in books. That's one of my favorite things to read about, and you get that in here, which I love. Oh my god, dude, I totally almost forgot about there was a scene in this book. It was a spice scene, alright? And it was weird as If you've read this book, you probably can piece together what I'm talking about. I'm not going to tell you guys what I'm talking about because I don't want to spoil shit for you. But it was weird as okay? It was weird as hell.
Weird as helly. It was weird as helly, bitch.
It was weird as hell, okay? What are we thinking with that? There were points when I was reading this that I thought that it had potential to be a 4-star, but I ended up rating it a 3.5 because there was a lot of spice in here, and there was that one spice scene that I didn't need that. I promise you, we didn't need that, you know? I'm good. But anyways, yeah, whatever. Moving on. Let me just, my little lip balm. Gonna meet Peter at the park. It's Tracy! You guys know what I'm talking about? Only OG YouTuber folk will know what I'm talking about. It's my push-up bra will help me get my man. Yeah. Stay on your side! The next book I again don't have the physical copy of because I ended up listening to it via audiobook, but it is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This is actually a YA science fiction dystopian novel, and this was actually published back in 2011. I think that this is a very popular book, but I honestly had never heard of it. The only reason why I ended up reading this book actually is because I was debating on picking up this other book at Barnes & Noble, and one of the workers came up to me and saw me debating it, and she was like, if you liked Ready Player One, then you'll really enjoy this series. So then I was like, okay, maybe I'll read that book first to see if it's my vibe, and then I'll read the other series that I was debating on reading. Anyways, for those who were in the same boat as me and hadn't heard of this book before, it follows our main character Wade, who goes by the gamer name or gamer tag of Parsival, and you're basically watching him play this video game. The creator of the video game passed away, and he ended up leaving his entire inheritance to one player who can find this hidden Easter egg throughout the entire game. And Wade, our main character, was the winner of the entire challenge, and he's telling you from a futuristic standpoint of how he ended up winning the entire game. That's not a spoiler, you find that out within the first like couple of pages. But yeah, before I even went into this book, the worker at Barnes told me that it was pretty much a Willy Wonka, but for someone who likes video games. So yeah, that's the best way that I could probably describe it as well. It's really good. It is very unique, even though I can totally understand that reference. I also should say and let you guys know that it is a banned book. He does talk about pretty triggering things throughout the book. The beginning is honestly extremely pessimistic, and there's also slang used that is homophobic. There's parts in this book that's homophobic, misogynistic. I'm just gonna lay it out there. There's also a point when, I mean, it's a science fiction book, whatever, but he makes a statement that's pretty damn anti-religion. And honestly, obviously, those parts made me uncomfortable, and I genuinely thought about DNFing the book right off the bat because it's extremely pessimistic, and the slang was just like very much toxic ass masculinity type shit, and just I figured that it wasn't my vibe, okay? However, the author did mention that the character grows throughout the story, which kept me deciding to just listen to it anyway, because I was like, okay, maybe he'll realize that what the fuck he just said was the fuck up, right? So I ended up reading it. It ended up being pretty good. Wade comes from an extremely fucked up family life, and just in general, like, his circumstances are not the greatest, okay? And he ends up winning billions of dollars from completing this video game and getting out of his scenario. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of great takeaways from this book, actually, and I think that this book did a really good job at talking about corporate greed. Overall, I thought that this was very unique. I actually didn't even know that this was a YA until I continued to read, and I'm like, wait a second. It has this YA vibe to it that then I looked it up and I was like, okay, no, that makes sense. But I don't know how I have never read it before, especially because I was a science fiction nerd, okay? Speaking of nerds, I felt like the biggest nerd when I was reading this in the best way possible. I literally felt like the, what's his name? The big nerd from 17 Again. I literally felt like the biggest nerd from 17 Again, that movie with Zac Efron. Like, I felt like that guy while I was reading the book, but I kind of loved it, and it honestly reminded me so much of how much I loved science fiction growing up, and I don't know how I teetered away from that genre, but I'm getting back into it. It makes me feel like a nerd, but in the best way possible, because I am a fucking nerd, babe. Like, the way that he was talking about, like, disassociating from the real world and just wanting to escape reality by oh my god, I also totally forgot the video game. The video game that he's trying to win is a virtual reality video game called The Oasis, and it's pretty much real life, but it's not, you know, it's a video game. It's a virtual simulation of real life. But yeah, I totally forgot to mention that part, which is my bad, because that's a very big key factor of this whole thing. But he's talking about disassociating from the real world and just wanting to escape reality by joining this virtual video game and living in this simulation versus experiencing real life, because his real life is unfortunate. The part when the author was talking about virtual banging was hilarious. That was funny as I literally wrote it down because it was funny and I didn't want to forget it, but it says, Galileo, Newton, and Einstein were knocking a few protons off the old hydrogen atom. And then he also referenced something as the little man in the canoe. Who thinks of that? Who thinks of that, you know? But yeah, anyways, I thought that it was hilarious. Honestly, the thought that this was written in 2011 is actually crazy, and it's actually really scary because of how realistic it is in a way, too. It reminds me a lot of the Black Mirror episode of the virtual reality game. I didn't like that episode. I did not like that episode, girl. I hated that fucking episode, okay? But it reminded me a lot of that episode because of the virtual banging and, like, escaping reality and just losing your mind in a video game and a simulation. It's just crazy to think about. It's just crazy to think about. As some of you may have caught on, I loved banned books, so I had a blast reading this because it talks about shit that makes you feel uncomfortable, but that's the point. I will say that the toxic man humor in here was just not it for me, okay? It's very much dude vibes and toxic dude vibes, okay? And yeah, whatever. That being said, I ended up rating this a 4.5 stars, so I still enjoyed it myself, and I think that there are great takeaways, so I would recommend it, but just know that there are the trigger warnings, obviously, for this book as well, if you want to pick it up. And there actually is a second book to this entire series as well. It's called Ready Player 2. I haven't read it yet. No, I lied. I actually did. Technically, I started it on audiobook, but I wasn't paying attention while I was reading it. I was in the middle of filming a different video, so I have to restart it in order to actually retain the information of it. So I didn't count it in this wrap up because I honestly don't remember what the happened in the first 30 minutes and then I just stopped reading it. So, but just know that there are 2 books in the series. The next book that I have is Addicted for Now by Kristen Becker Ritchie. This is actually the 3rd book of the Addicted Calloway Sisters series, which I've talked about many times on my channel now. This is about 2 addicts. There is our main male character whose name is Lauren and he's an alcoholic, and then we have Lily who is a sex addict. And yeah, I'm not gonna tell you guys my thoughts. I know that's annoying, but I'm actually planning, I keep referencing more videos, but I'm planning on creating a reading vlog finishing series that I'm currently in the middle of, so this is one of those books, spoiler, but I'm gonna save my thoughts for that video, but just know that I started reading it and I'm halfway through, and yeah. Moving on. Okay, the next book, I again don't have the physical copy because I ended up listening to it via audiobook, but it is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is an adult mystery thriller about 2 characters, Alex and Josie. Alex is a famous podcaster and Josie happens to share the same birthday as Alex. And as the podcast progresses, more truth is spilled and Josie also grows an attachment to Alex. This book is creepy. This book is spooky. There are a lot of different trigger warnings for this book, which I did not know before I went into it, so look those up, please, because I was like thrown off guard by some of this shit, okay? I have a lot of questions for this book, okay? There were certain points when things were brought up on a podcast, might I say, where it's being broadcasted or just disclosed of, and the police weren't notified. What the f is up with that? Like, you know, I don't know, but yeah. Anyways, this book is really good. I love Lisa Jewell's writing. This is a very popular book as well, and honestly, I'm pretty late to getting to it, I think, because it either came out last year or in 2023, I can't remember, but I've been wanting to read it for a while, and it ended up becoming available to me on Libby, so I got my paws on it, and I finally finished it, and I liked it. I thought that it was really entertaining. Again, spooky shit going on, and crazy things that would be triggering for a few people, alright? And just totally morals out the window about things, right? Okay? You know what's happening throughout the entire novel for the most part, and for that reason it comes off a little bit predictable, but in a different way than where it like ruins the book for you. If anything, you're more intrigued to like keep learning because you keep on getting things right or whatever, and you're like solving the crime as the book is progressing, right? However, the end of this book, I still don't know. I still am confused. I'm still confused about a lot of things. I can't tell if I liked the ending, honestly. Like, overall, it's a very unsettling book, okay? So just know that. I felt like I was just gaslit for 400 pages, right? Like, I was like, wait, none of this makes sense. Like, what is going on? I don't know. That being said, it was still really entertaining. It was still really good, and I really did enjoy it. The audiobook was actually pretty fun to listen to, if I'm gonna be honest, because the plot of the book is following a podcast, so it felt like I was literally just listening to another true crime podcast instead of just listening to an audiobook. I think that I would have enjoyed it too if I read the physical copy, so either or. But also, along with me being confused why the police weren't notified about certain things, I'm also confused why Alex has children, and she let this person into her home. Who in their right mind would do that? A stranger. She let a stranger into her home while she has children and a f***ing husband. I'm like, baby, like, I get it, you want to be a good person, I understand the circumstances, but you have a family to protect. And this bitch is f***ing batshit. How do you not see that off the rip? Like, but anyways, I really did enjoy this. It felt extremely real, almost too real, that it got creepy for me. And overall, I did see the plot twist coming for the most part, but it was still entertaining that the book wasn't ruined just because I could predict some certain stuff, you know? But yeah, anyways, overall I ended up rating it a 4-star and I would recommend it, so there you go. Okay, the next book I again don't have as a physical copy because I ended up listening to it via audiobook, but it is Passion Project by London Sperry. This is a literary fiction romance following two main characters, Henry and Bennett. The setting of this book is in New York. Bennett is trying to start over. She's in her late 20s, I believe. I don't know about Henry, but I'm pretty sure that they're both in their late 20s. Bennett is in the process of going through the stages of grief, so she also is battling mental health at the same token. Honestly, Henry is also experiencing grief in a way, but it's a very different scenario between the two of them. She ends up meeting Henry due to a dating app and they start to talk. He discovers that she is trying to start over in life and she's been working a lot of temporary jobs to figure out what career path she wants to pursue, and he comes up with the idea for them to find her passion. So they pretty much make a pact to explore new opportunities and to do things outside of their comfort zone together for the entire summer. It's just really fun and it's really cute. It was really exciting to see them do new things, like outlandish stuff too. There were a lot of times when you thought you knew what they were gonna do, but then it wasn't actually what you thought it was, which I thought was really cool of the author. It honestly reminded me of a mixture between The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston and The Midnight Library by Matt Haig mixed together, minus the magical realism, because there's a lot of visuals about food and there's also just very unique experiences that are very outside the box and creative as which is how The Midnight Library was as well. So yeah, overall it was really fun. Honestly, I think that the way that this book was written is so realistic in every way possible, and I think that the takeaways that you get from this are extremely beneficial for the reader. I really did love how this book touched on starting over and that it's okay to start over and to figure yourself out regardless of age. For those who are not in your 20s, babe, it is a clusterfuck. Okay, I'm just sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but just be prepared. Your 20s are literally for you to figure yourself out, and it's literally, you will go through so many different waves of shit while you're in your 20s, babe. Sorry, but you will. I also think that it did a really good job at talking about isolation and how to force yourself almost to get outside your comfort zone and to get outside of your house and to put yourself in new experiences in order to change the environment that you're in, I guess, or the headspace that you're in. Like, honestly, saying that, it reminds me a lot of this quote that I read from Reddit where they were talking about getting out of like a mental health rut and how to do it. This person said, "How I did it was I forced myself into situations where I at least had the possibility of being happy. Sleeping in bed all day, nothing will change. Refusing every friend who asks you to do something, nothing will change. Staying in the house all day, nothing will change. No one will ever come and save you from your depression. It's tough but true. You simply have to force yourself into situations where the possibility of something changing actually exists." That is a damn good quote. And that perspective literally changed my mindset as well, and I think about that quote all the time, so there you are. But yeah, that pretty much sums up what I appreciate about this book as well, because I think that it's doing a really good job at explaining that you need to put yourself in new scenarios if you want some form of a change to happen, you know? I also really love how London Sperry normalized odd jobs in a way, and how a lot of people simply have jobs to pay the bills or to afford rent or whatever, and then they pursue their passions on the sides. I think that that's just so damn realistic, and we're gonna get deep for a sec, but I feel like it's normalized almost in society to want to become doctors, lawyers, teachers, CEOs. Like, I feel like it's instilled in us to want to have those high achieving jobs in order to feel successful in life, but at the end of the day, this is not docking anyone who is in those professions at all, obviously. Like, I respect every profession, but it's also real as hell that you do not need to be in those roles in order to be successful. Do you know what I mean? I've mentioned this all on my channel before, but we need to start normalizing odd jobs because they're not actually that fucking odd. They're just realistic as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, I really did enjoy that part of the story. There were many times when it felt like the book was about to end, but then it kept going, which I thought was gonna make me not like the book, but I actually liked it because it was different from other romances that I've read. I think that the main takeaway that I got from this, and something that was reinstilled in my brain that I forgot, was that every opportunity opportunity that you have in life and all the people that you meet are brought into your life for a reason, and you can learn so much by just exploring that opportunity instead of completely shutting it out of your life. I know I said earlier that this is a lit fic book, but honestly it's a mush of lit fic and contemporary romance. That being said, it is a slow burn, it's a friends to lovers trope, so I love that shit. But yeah, just know that if you want to pick it up, it's not going to be some like popcorn read or like insta-love type shit. It's literally like you're following the main characters' lives basically the entire time. So anyways, overall I rated it a 4-star, and it is definitely a fun summer read for those who have not picked it up yet. I think that you should, and I would definitely recommend it. Alright, and that concludes today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that you guys got some good book recs from this, and I hope that you guys appreciated my honest review. Be sure to keep an eye out for my ACOTAR series final review once I finish the last book, and also for a reading vlog coming up where I talk about my actual thoughts about Addicted for Now by Kristen Becker-Ritchie. I know that I mentioned that today. I kind of breezed over that a little bit, but it's because I'm planning to do the reading vlog, so just keep an eye out for that. That being said, if you guys had a favorite read in either May or June of this year, be sure to leave it in the comments down below because I love book recs and I would love to check those books out as well. I'm gonna go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Au revoir. Bye.